A black tide crept over the beach. Strange glowing shells cracked open on the sand, releasing bursts of light into the darkness. High above, a shadow slithered into the ocean's edge, hiding among the seaweed and rocks. It watched the city with cold, reptilian eyes. What dark plot was this creature hatching? And what did it have to do with our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Before we dive in, welcome back to Mind Pop Story. Today's tale takes us deep beneath the waves to Spidey's underwater showdown with a brand new villain. Will he be able to save the day, or will the ocean's depths pull him under? Let's find out. As soon as Peter Parker heard this strange signal in the lab, he knew he had to investigate. It was an ocean frequency no one had ever heard before. Pulling on his suit, he dove off the nearest pier and followed the signal out into the deep. The water grew colder as he descended, but Peter was determined to uncover the mystery of the strange signal. As he passed schools of colorful fish, they scattered at his approach, their shimmering scales flashing like 1,000 tiny mirrors. Finally, the sound led him to an underwater cave hidden behind a curtain of kelp. On the walls were strange symbols that looked like a giant spider had crawled across them, leaving its webbing behind. With a final flip, Peter entered the cavern only to gasp at what he saw inside. In the center of the room was a giant shell that pulsed with eerie green energy. But it wasn't just any shell. This one throbbed with an otherworldly power, like the heart of some great sea monster beating with ancient might. Memories flashed through Peter's mind, tales of an underwater kingdom long lost to time. But suddenly, the air in the chamber shifted. A burst of black mist escaped the shell, and a low growl echoed through the cavern. Whatever had been slumbering inside stirred, coiling like a living shadow in the murky depths. Then it struck, lashing out with a tentacle-tipped stinger. Peter dodged just in time, sending a spray of phosphorescent ink into the water. Startled by the sudden movement, whatever had lurked within the shell recoiled, revealing itself fully for the first time. It was a creature unlike any Peter had ever seen. Part spider, part sea guardian, it writhed in pain, tendrils of darkness snaking down its chitinous body. Ink dripped from its tip, sizzling as it hit the water. "Who are you?" Peter asked, his voice echoing in his own ears. "I am Shellborn," it whispered, its voice a hollow echo, "the first spider of the deep." It told Peter how centuries ago it had been sealed within the ocean core by an enemy who had stolen its power. Now, after all this time, the core had been disturbed and evil was rising once more. It was up to Shellborn to stop it, but it needed Peter's help. But as Peter reached out, tendrils of deep magic lashed out, fighting against him, pulling him down into a whirlpool of memories. Shellborn's past, the lost war, the betrayal that led to its imprisonment. Peter struggled to keep himself from being swept away. Was this a trick? Could he trust the spider of the deep? On the surface, the water began to roil. Tidal waves rose, crashing against the city's shore. People screamed as giant serpents of ink burst from the waves, slithering toward the land. Realizing the city was in grave danger, Peter forced himself to focus. With a mighty effort, he broke free of the memory whirlpool and shot toward the source of the disturbance, the core of the ocean. There he found Shellborn, weakened and battered, clinging to the edge. Something huge was emerging from the core, coiling around it, threatening to drag it down into the abyss. Seizing the moment, Peter shot a web stabilizer onto the energy surge, anchoring it in place. Suddenly, the shell cracked wide open, releasing a blast of energy that knocked Peter off his feet. From the opening, a sea serpent made of ink and rage burst forth. Its eyes burned with hatred. Its scales shimmered like obsidian. It was the Abyss Lurker, the embodiment of chaos and destruction. The serpent wrapped around the core, squeezing with all its might and aiming its head toward the city's coast. Shellborn dove into the fray, diving and darting, trying to distract the beast while Peter regrouped. But even combined forces weren't enough. The serpent was too strong, its scales too tough, its rage too great. Then Peter got an idea. Using his magnetic web lines, he bound the beast's fins together, redirecting its force and turning its own momentum against it. The serpent hissed, thrashing wildly until with a final mighty pull, it collapsed, dissolving into foam that drifted on the current. Shellborn turned to Peter, its eyes filled with gratitude. "You are not just a spider. You are a guardian." It let out a final sigh, its form fading as the ocean around it calmed. "The balance is restored," it whispered, dissolving into bubbles that floated to the surface. Gently, the ocean began to heal. The tides returned to their normal rhythm, and the giant waves receded. Taking a deep breath, Spiderman surfaced, quiet, thinking about the day he spent underwater. That night, safe in his room, Peter wrote in his journal, "Some heroes are forgotten, some are just underwater, waiting." But Peter didn't know that far below, deep in the Arctic, a spider-shaped iceberg was beginning to crack. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to stay tuned for more adventures. Click here to watch this episode again, or click here to watch another amazing story. See you next time.